So welcome everybody to the June session of the Nature Diary. We're going to be painting a Mediterranean chameleon today. So I'm just going to share my screen and show you a few photos first. So this is a really good website called Malta Wild Plants or maltafauna.com. So you can see a chameleon there. You've probably seen them before in the wild. Hopefully, they live in the Greek habitat in Malta, which is quite rocky. So I hope everybody can see the pictures. I think I froze a little bit there. The internet is playing up a little bit. Okay, so the size of a Mediterranean chameleon is average between 20 and 40 centimeters. So about the size of a long ruler. And they're usually, as you can see in the photos, green or brown with pale marks on them. And they do change color, and people have different theories about why they change color. Some people say it's because of camouflage, so they try and change the color that they have in the background. Some people say it's emotions, and some people say it's for different reasons. That's a picture of the chameleon's foot, which has nails so it can grab onto the branch. They also change, they puff up their body when they feel like they're being threatened, and they can open their mouth to look fierce. So looking a bit like a dinosaur, like a small mini dinosaur. And the female of the Mediterranean chameleon lays her eggs at the bottom of trees. So then when they hatch, they live in they have a tree that they can live in. And the babies are really, really tiny. They're very cute. So the chameleon was brought to Malta in the 1800s by, they call them missionaries. So they're a bit like, well, religious people, I guess, but they were brought from North Africa. And I'll show you, I just need this, where they live in the world. So this is where chameleons live. So you see the yellow there on the map. That's where they live in the world. So we're very lucky to have them in Malta because they don't live in very many places. And I'm just going to show you a quick, quite cute video because it's quite funny.
Yum! Yum!
Okay, so I just wanted to show you that because they showed some good facts in that video. Hopefully you could hear the music as well. And the National Geographic is a really good place to look for facts about animals. So I can share the links to this in the chat. So let's get painting now. Well, we need to start with drawing. I'll spotlight the video for everybody to watch to see my drawing. Yeah, there we go. Hopefully it's not too delayed for everybody. It keeps telling me the internet's unstable, but hopefully we're okay. If you do want the picture that I'm using to draw from, I'll send you the link in the chat. To use that as reference, I used the third one down. Yeah, but I turned him around. Okay, let's get drawing. Okay, so we're going to start with a branch. Arrange my setup here. So I'm going to make obviously your pencil and your rubber first, okay? So I'm going to start with a branch from the bottom, coming up from the bottom of the page, and just do a quick line coming up like this. Maybe I should make that a bit darker so you can see it. Okay. And then another line, obviously, to create a branch. So there we have that. You can, because it's a diagonal level, I'm going to put my piece of paper diagonal as well, because it shows that the chameleon is crawling up it. And then to make sure the chameleon fits on the page, I'm just going to mark out where the chameleon starts and ends. So about there. And then the body, like we usually do, if you just draw body roughly, just draw the shape that you can see before putting all the detail in. A bit like a sausage shape, which is completely not what he looks like, but that. Or her head comes out like this. Okay, let some more people in. Welcome everybody to those who are joining now. I hope my internet isn't too delayed. Technology. Keeps freezing. Okay, hopefully it's okay. Okay, so we've got the body and the head, but just a quick shape for now. So for those who've just joined, you just need to draw a branch, and I've drawn it coming up the page diagonally because the chameleon's climbing up, and then the body, the shape of the body just roughly, and the shape of the head, just so we know where everything is. Get wrapped around the branch. I'm just going to hopefully it's not freezing. Let me know, okay, if it's jamming too much, and I'll see if I can do anything to sort it. So we need to put the legs in next. So he has 4 legs, but we can only see the 2 on the side. So his shoulder or her shoulder comes out here. And then the shape well, it's sort of triangular, and we'll put in the detail of the claws a bit later. And then the hind leg comes out here. they're quite funny chameleon legs. If you've ever watched one walking along, they're quite slow, although you saw in the video how fast their tongues are. But they're quite calming to watch, really. Okay, so we've got all the parts now, so we can start putting in some detail. So let's start with the head. So the head comes up a bit here, and you can put the eye in just so you can see for a reference. And the eye, the outside of the eye is quite big, but then the middle bit is quite small. And I'm keeping my pencil quite light, okay, because I might well, I probably will rub some of the lines out before I paint. Let's check. I think everybody should be here now. And then I'm not sure what this part is called, the top bit of the head, but it comes out. He looks a bit scared at the moment with his eye like that. And they look a bit grumpy, chameleons, until they catch an insect like a fly. And then his chin, he sort of has a double chin too. Okay. So we have the head, and then we go by the shape. His back looks a bit hunchback, because I think it's because he's keeping low down on the branch. And we can go along the line we made originally, basically. And then his shoulder comes up there. I think it comes back a little bit. So we can fit this claw onto the branch. So there he is, or she is. Holding on. And I'm not actually going to photo, because I thought we could have a bit more fun today. Okay, there's his belly, which I'm making a little bit bigger at the front, and then the chameleon gets a little bit thinner towards the back. And this leg, looking at the reference of the photo, comes up a bit higher actually. And then, so the leg, the foot, or claw, no, it's probably not a claw actually, splits into two, which you can see in one of the close-up photos on the website, Malta Wild Plants website. quite interesting to see it so close up. That doesn't look quite right because it's a sort of triangular shape. Let's bring it the toe around a little bit.
Talk to me.
Miss? Yes? Can you go a bit more slower?
Okay, sorry. The image is the third one on the Malta Wild Plants website, the one that I used. But his tail doesn't show much, so I kind of used a different reference for that. I'll just reply to someone whilst. Right, I'll try to go slower. I think that's what looks good enough there. Okay, so I'm just going to continue the back part now, where we need to put in the other part of his leg actually, which comes out like that. They have a lot of kind of skin, like folds of skin. And so we can't quite see. Like, we can mark out the back like that. And then for his tail, you can just continue along that line that we made previously. And then the tail, they often wrap it around the branch to help them stay on. So you draw a circle, which isn't going to show, you're not going to see the whole circle because it's wrapped around the branch. Make it a bit thicker. And then rub out any lines you don't need. And then make it go round again. I think that's long enough. So, and then we just need to continue his body along. Okay, it's pretty much all the drawing we need to do. I'm just going to rub out some of the lines so that they don't show when we're painting. So if they show a little bit, it's fine. Just making them a little bit lighter. So when we paint the green, hopefully it'll cover a lot of the pencil marks anyway. Okay, so I'll share the link just in case you want to watch that video again, or look at the National Geographic site, because it's got a lot of good resources about animals in there, but you can look at that later. And hopefully everyone's ready to paint. So if you want to grab your jars of water, it's always best to have 2 jars of clean water. And the first thing we're going to do, a little bit different, is paint some flowers, because I've seen chameleons on lantana bushes, which aren't native to Malta, but the chameleons still quite seem to like them. So to do these, I'm going to use it's called permanent rose, but it's kind of a pinky red. So I'm going to squeeze some of that into the palette. So it's a dark pink basically, but if you just have pink, that's fine. And then we need cadmium yellow, which is this one. It's like an orangey yellow, but just yellow is fine. Squeeze some of that in. And I'm just going to make some space here. And I already made an orange here, which I made using the pink and the yellow. So you can mix that up. You just need to prepare the colours first. I'm just going to, because I don't want to waste that colour, I'm going to just spray it with a little bit of water. And we also need, if you have a light, I think this is an okay brush to use. It's kind of a medium-sized brush. And what we're going to do first, because these, I'm just going to water the colours down a little bit so that they're ready to use. So I'm just adding water. So we'll do a few of these so that people can catch up. I'm taking just water. This, I think it should work with poster colors. It's mainly going to work with watercolors. If poster colors, if you watered them down, they can get the same effect. But if you have pencils, then if you just take the colors I'm mentioning and draw them, it's fine. So I'm taking water on its own and painting a squiggly circle. It's a bit hard to show you. You can see the water a little bit. So just in a squiggle, painting a very basic flower shape, basically. Like a puffy cloud, maybe, just with the water. And then you take the first color is the pink, and you drop it around the edge. So it's like fireworks spreading out. And then you so we're going from the dark to the light. So you take your orange and do the same thing. And some colors spread more than others. That's just the way watercolor works. And then I'm taking the cadmium yellow, the kind of orangey yellow. Put that as the next line of color. If you want to paint these in a different way, that's absolutely fine. And then I'm putting a little bit of lemon yellow in the middle. So then I'm going to do the same thing with the water. Just a squiggly line and then fill it in. Then drop the color around the edge of that water, because you should be able to see oops, that's a lot of color. When I painted these before the session, they all came out very different. It's quite fun though. They come out. You don't know how they're going to come out. Whoa. Okay, and let's paint another one here. So let me know if you need me to slow down again. Hopefully you're with me so far. Okay, just paint one more color. One more flower, I mean. Okay, so drop the color in, pink color on the outside. And then the orange. So you'll see why I decided to paint the flowers first in a minute. And then drop the yellow in, and then the other yellow that you have. If you don't have one, it's fine. You can just paint the middle or yellow. Okay, so there's a few flowers, and you can add as many as you want. So next, I'm going to mix up a green. So I thought this green was going to and I'm going to use a dark blue, which is called ultramarine. So put some of that in there. Maybe a bit more. and lemon yellow. I might just lift this up. And then we want quite a light green. It's too much blue. And it needs to be quite watery. Add a bit more yellow because that's too much blue in there. I might add a bit of cadmium yellow there. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I'm just adding water now to make it quite watery. And I should have a piece of rough paper to test it, but I'll just test it on here. Yes, that looks about right. You can add leaves around your flowers, but we'll see if we have time for that. I am trying to keep it to an hour today because I don't think very many of you can spend longer than an hour. Okay, so let's start painting the body. So I'm going to start from the back and paint it on and try and keep it quite watery. It's hard at the moment now that the weather's warmed up. Watercolor dries really quickly, so you do have to add more water than we did in the winter. And you can paint over everything basically because we'll add some definition in. This brush is a bit too big. But again, that's fine because we can add the detail later. Smaller brush. So before the paint dries, I'm going to drop in some watery splodges of yellow, the cadmium yellow, because I tried the lemon yellow and it didn't work very well. It just disappeared. Because I want to make him look like the flowers, him or her. Because I saw a chameleon on a bush that has these flowers, these colors once, and the chameleon turns that color. So, and now let's drop some orange. And this is where watercolor is really fun. The body dried off a bit, so I'm just going to add a bit more color there. And then drop. I don't know how frequently this happens, where they change this color. And I found a photo of one of a chameleon. There's 150 different species of chameleon in the world, all living in a very small part of the world. One turns the most amazing rainbow colors. There's photos, there's some lovely photos on that link I sent through. Okay, quite nicely colorful now. Add yellow can disappear a little bit. Add a little bit. Okay. So I'm just going to grab a smaller brush so I can do the tail and take some of the green. I think the tail needs to be a little bit thicker actually. Yeah, I think that looks right. I hope you get to see baby chameleons one day as well. I think, trying to think about when the babies are born. I think it's at the end of the summer, I think. And they're the size of your thumbnail, so they fit on your thumb. They're so tiny. So let's drop a little bit of yellow in the tail and a little bit of orange. So if you go out walking at the moment and you look around carefully, sometimes they're quite difficult animals to spot because they're they camouflage themselves. Then sometimes you don't see them. Very clever, really. I'm gonna start painting the head. Hopefully everyone's okay. I'm not going too fast. And we'll drop some color into the head as well. But you can also see chameleons walking around on the Garrigue, Shari and Maltese. So the rocky landscape. So you have to be careful where you step sometimes. Okay, this part of the color, I don't know when you think there's too much color. You can drop some water in to spread it out a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to drop some color into the head. And around the eye, it's quite interesting. I saw in one photo that it's not going to be a bit wet, but there's lines that form within the big circle of the eye. I think it's a bit wet though.
Let's wait a bit for that. Maybe a little bit of orange. And a tiny bit of pink. If your pink is anything like the one I have, you have to be a little bit careful with it because it does spread a lot. Okay, and watercolor always dries lighter. So if you look at the body now, it doesn't look as colorful, but that's quite, I think that's quite nice. It looks more natural now. So I'm going to paint. Let's drop a little bit of color in the feet. I'm going to try and paint the branch now without letting the color spread too much. And I'm going to paint it. You can take the same green, and then I'm going to mix a little bit of, you can mix more blue into it actually, I think that's a better idea. But not too much blue, because after all, the chameleon is probably pretty much the same color as the bush it's on. I'm going to make a green branch, like a stem of the plant. I just paint that in. It's okay if the paint does bleed a little bit or spreads. Okay, and then I'm going to take, I have a color called Payne's Gray, and it's a gray, but you can use red and a dark red and a dark blue mixed together to make a shadow color, which is probably a bit more natural actually. Or water down some black. And I'm just going to paint the shadow underneath. And if the branch is still wet, that's fine. It's quite nice when it does blend in. And painting shadow in helps to define things a little bit. Too dark there. And then quite like the effect of the orange blending in, but we need our shadow. make it, oops, too dark. Then I'm going to give the chameleon a bit of shadow and definition on the actual body, because hopefully you can still see your pencil marks a little bit, because if we don't, the definition all gets lost. And the chameleon's probably underneath sun. So if the sun is shining from above, then you can imagine where the light is hitting and where the shadow is happening. And we can also just paint in some lines just showing where the legs are. And I'm just going to paint along the bottom of the body. You don't have to paint straight lines either. You can just, I try to just give a bit of a suggestion. And the head on my one, hopefully it has on yours as well, is quite dry now. So you can paint a little bit of shadow here behind the head. And at the bottom. And if sometimes it's dark and it's annoying you because it's quite dark, you can dab your paintbrush on an old t-shirt or a bit of kitchen towel and take off some of the paint. Take a little bit of dark and paint in where his mouth is. And just suggest where the top of the head is and draw a bit of a line around the eye. And you can paint in the middle of the eye. This is just a circle. What else does it need? Maybe the definition where the tail wraps. And sometimes if you want something to stand out, you can paint the shadow behind it. And I might try painting the foot a bit more because it got a bit lost. I might, to define it a bit more, when it's a bit drier, I'll paint the shadow between the toes, if they're called the toes. I think it's kind of dry on the eye, hopefully. I'm just going to take a tiny bit of orange and paint some lines heading towards the eye. Hopefully, oops, maybe not dry enough. I'll paint a little bit of yellow as well. And leaves a little bit of time for painting some leaves in. And I'm just going to use the same green. Maybe I'll use a bigger brush. So if your flowers are still quite wet, what you can do is not paint right up to the flower. And then it's up to you whether you want to actually add it later or just leave it. It can be quite a nice effect. Or you can let them blend in together, which I think in nature can happen, because so just painting them coming out from the flowers. I wonder how different all your chameleons are. I keep touching the stand with my finger. And if the leaves come off the page, that's fine. My flowers look a bit like they're flying. Feel. Into another leaf at the bottom, kind of balances out a little bit. So there would usually be a lot more greenery behind, but for the sake of the painting and being able to paint it, but you could paint just a green background. So if you're not happy with your leaves, you could just paint it all green, and that would be fine. And just have dots of your flowers. And if you enjoyed painting the flowers, do loads more. It's quite relaxing to paint them. And then for the leaves, to give them a bit of definition, My chameleons come out quite dark on the screen, but I don't know why that's happened. It looks quite light on mine. The colors change on the screen. So I'm just going to take some darker green and paint the veins of the leaves. And again, I'm trying not to paint them in long lines, just give suggestions of them as if you're sketching with your paintbrush. So, oops. Just the definition, line down the middle, and then lines that come out like branches of a tree. Gosh, I think we might finish on time today. This one's bleeding a little bit. That's okay. Quite a nice effect. Hope you can't hear too much of all that noise. Okay, so the branch has dried a little bit, so I'm going to put a little bit of shadow here to there so that you can see us split a little bit more. Okay, I think that's pretty much there. What I'm going to do, have my other pen. I'm going to, because I think, well, I don't know, maybe we did do it last time. Just going to write the name here along the bottom of the branch. And again, you can also draw June at the top here. So that's the name in English. And then the name in Maltese is Kamalejont. And I think some people call it Kamalejont as well. So, okay, so there's a chameleon. Right, I'm going to stop the recording now. I hope everybody enjoyed that. And that I'll see you at the next Nature Diary. I'm just going to stop the recording and we can look at everybody's pictures now if you're finished.
Cool.